They've destroyed so much evidence already. I was trying to use my evidence to show the Nebraska State Patrol the crimes committed against me by Sheriff Scott DaCosta. And Sheriff Scott DaCosta lied outright. Him and Robert Warnick and Leslie Snell and William Barr, all four of the people I was trying to turn in. They had my evidence for 7 months. 7 months. Legally, they have to turn that in. The North Platte to be processed. And they did not. Literally, the cops I was trying to turn in got to do this. The dog's staring out the window at him. Hey, bud. I know this. He'll be home shortly to take you out. It'll be all right, bud. I am too scared to take the dog out to go to the bathroom. The dog doesn't deserve that. I have severe PTSD from this abuse. Obviously. I'm still trying to turn them in. What are the chances that they're trumping up more charges? Pretty damn good. They've done it repeatedly. Utilized the medical community in order to get away with their crimes. Sent me to other jurisdictions where I couldn't turn them in, gone out of their way to have me pegged as mentally ill so that it makes it okay that they did not do their jobs. Meanwhile, it is against the law for them to not do their jobs. I am an at-risk adult. my public pretender, Robert Harvoy, in all of this situation. I told him over and over he refused to do his job. I fired him twice. I finally got a new public defender, not a public pretender, a public defender. And they dropped the charges. When they had a goon in their corner in Robert Harvoy, they were fine with it. Now, I didn't even know the name of my new public defender. I mean, there's a lot of names that I got to try to remember, hundreds upon hundreds of names. I got to remember the names of the officers. I got to remember the names of the deputies. I got to remember the names of the public defenders. I got to remember the names of all of these different people. And oh my God, there are just so many. I mean, how do you expect me to remember every single detail after 5 years of abuse and trying to turn it in? There's 21 letters that I sent to my new public defender there right before they dropped the charges, explaining to her what was going on. 21 letters. Now that I know her name, I can try to get them back. Hopefully, but what happens if they get sent to the general mail while I'm incarcerated for bullshit again? I did everything that I could to turn those people in. I really did. All of these law enforcement agents helped each other, and many of these departments have shown over and over again that they're corrupt. I mean, one of the departments that Scott DaCosta had me sent to was Garden County. The sheriff there was Michelle Quinn. I like Michelle Quinn. She was always pretty nice to me, but I'd only talked to her twice. One of those times she gave me a ride out of Garden County after I was released from jail, again on trumped up charges. That's the thing about a small town. You don't have to be guilty. If people don't like you, that's guilt enough. People keep saying to move. I have moved repeatedly. I lost my housing here because I was trying to get help. I had to do desperate things to get help because people kept blowing me off like I was schizophrenic. They would humor me. Just like my therapist was saying, oh, it's just crazy, Sean. It's just crazy, Sean. I have evidence, but my predators lie. My predators lie. I'm not allowed to show the evidence. They pretend it doesn't exist. They take it away. This needs to stop. Scott DaCosta overstepped his bounds in 2018. His deputies ignored the abuse against me before Natalie was even dead. And while Ted Bollinger and his daughter were gaslighting me at my grandmother's funeral, that officer did not take the situation seriously. I looked out the windows. They're gone. They'll be back, though. You know how cruel it is that the dog can't go to the bathroom because I have to be afraid of going outside. I have to be afraid that they're going to steal my evidence again and destroy more of it. Legally, Scott DaCosta, when they stole my evidence, illegally by lying to a judge in order to get a warrant, so that he could cover his tracks in the felonies he and his officers committed. It's not like I've just been talking. I've been showing conversations with the witnesses, and as pissed off as they are, they had every chance to come forward in court. They had every chance to write a police report. Every single one of them. Yeah, I'm hugging myself down below. I don't have a weighted blanket. A weighted blanket is basically supposed to simulate a hug. Let me tell you something about hugs. There's a young man in Colorado. His mom complained that because her son was autistic, she was never going to be able to get a hug from him. He tried to give her a hug while I was there. She jumped back. Imagine how that felt for that young man, that when he went to give his mother a hug, she jumped back. She don't want a hug from him. She just wants to complain about it. Now, I have threatened to turn these people in, but it's not a threat. I have tried to turn them in. They have gotten away with what they have done by repeatedly using the mentally ill tag to justify their crimes and pretend that they didn't happen. By calling me mentally ill, it prevents me from showing evidence or being taken seriously. Meanwhile, people that I show the evidence to, people like my autism advocate, are not even allowed to speak. They're told that they're inappropriate. You got no idea how many times people have told me to take it down, take it down. No, you had your chance. You had your chance to write those things in a police report. You had your chance to tell on those abusers. You had your chance to tell what you knew. You had your chance. I am not going to remove evidence of your cowardice and cruelty, of the fact that these things were allowed to happen to me repeatedly because you personally allowed it. I am not going to take down evidence. I will not. Dog's staring out the window again. He's not barking though, so it's not somebody driving by and slowing down. It's not somebody beating on the door. I'm guaranteed, if they lock me up on trumped up charges, they're not going to allow my autism advocate to speak of anything. They are not going to allow my therapist to even be contacted. I will be sent to the same institutions that I have been abused in over and over again. And why do I get abused in these places? Because the people who work there know that they will get away with it. It is their word versus mine, and they have the badge. At least out here, it's not their word versus mine. I save the evidence. I can't save the evidence from when I am incarcerated. I don't have the ability to record those things. The entire time that I was in prison, I was trying to get the abuse that I was enduring at the hands of those guards documented. I was repeatedly assaulted by people like Bundy. That's right, that's his last name. Sounds like a real psycho last name, doesn't it? Well, the dude's a real psycho. He used to come to my cell and brag about how many complaints that he had against him and that he still had his job. I literally had multiple guards in that jail assault me at the same time and try to break my wrists using the handcuffs the same way that Officer Whalen Lolotai did. I wasn't allowed to move, or they would pretend like I was resisting. I wasn't resisting, I was in extreme pain. And then they didn't cut my clothes off of me. They wanted to strip me down naked, take all of my things, and they did not cut my clothes off of me. They literally tore and yanked those clothes off of me. These things are illegal. They're illegal to do these things even to felons. And I'm not a felon. I wasn't convicted of anything. I was a county safekeep. That means I wasn't convicted of shit. But when you're a county safekeep, you have less rights than a convicted felon. If you need medical attention, it has to go through your county. Scott DaCosta gets to make all of those decisions. Meanwhile, Mr. Starkey, who's our county attorney, county prosecutor, I'd gone to him repeatedly about the abuse. There are phone calls on this channel between me and him as well. Without someone to actually advocate for me, who's actually going to advocate for me, they get to continue this. They get to do this over and over and over again. You say, hey, you just need to let it go. I don't get to let it go. I cannot go to a police officer to get help. I cannot. When I was assaulted by Whalen Lolotai, that goes on your arrest record. And of course, we got this asshole over here wanting to call me insane. That's right. If this happens to a woman, do you call her insane? You got to hear at the beginning of the video, you got to hear the dog barking and at least one knock. You missed the first one. These people have repeatedly abused their powers to get away with committing multiple felonies and allowing my predators to get away. This needs to be dealt with. Cole Cano typed, I mean insane in a good way. Why? Because I'm not too cowardly to stand up to these people, where all these people that I had to record were. It's fine because it's not happening to them, but they're afraid that it'll happen to them if they come forward. That's not my fault. It is not my fault that they were too cowardly to tell the truth. I am scared shitless. I have been through 5 years of this, but obviously they're going to have to kill me to shut me up. The whole time I was locked up, that didn't shut me up either. And the whole time I was locked up, I was abused for speaking up. The evidence they should have gone to the Nebraska State Patrol about Scott DaCosta. Scott DaCosta was able to get a hold of and destroy a lot of that evidence. My USB drives were returned empty. At no point in time have I been treated like a human being by the cops, the courts, the Nebraska Attorney General's office, the Nebraska State Patrol. And it wasn't just here. Natalie Bollinger was shot in Colorado. I didn't even know she was in Colorado. Colocan wants to type the same bullshit as everyone else. He's been here 5 minutes and already thinks he's got the cure-all for it. Move to another state. You have any idea how many times I've moved? Over 40 times since Natalie was killed. I can't take care of myself. I have to live on $800 a month. You know how expensive it is to move? All of the money that I needed to defend myself and to get myself into a place where I would be safe so that I wouldn't be too petrified to function. All of that money has gone to my predators for false charges. How much money do you think it cost for me to be illegally imprisoned for 7 months out of last year? Well over $100,000. In addition to the fact that the prisons, when I spoke to the doctors there, they told me that if I was a convicted felon and not a county safekeep, they would have already sent me to the hospital. I had a concussion from assaults by the guards in there. And they had to get permission from Sheriff Scott DaCosta to take me to the hospital. And the way they explained it to me, there's some council here, city council, that gets to decide whether or not they're going to apportion the money for me to have those medical needs taken care of. Meanwhile, my Medicaid would have covered that. But then again, I wouldn't have needed the Medicaid because I wouldn't have been assaulted and given a concussion if I wasn't in there on false charges. Colcano, thank you for saying you think I'm innocent. There's a lot of evidence on this YouTube channel. Could you, instead of thinking I'm innocent, go through the evidence and remove all doubt? Could you go through and listen to the conversations with these witnesses? Obviously, I have meltdowns. I mean, who wouldn't under these circumstances? When you try to turn in a bad cop, all of their cop buddies help them out. They know exactly how to prevent you from turning them in until the statute of limitations is over. They know exactly how to intimidate you. They know exactly how to intimidate your friends, especially if those friends have children. Look at what happened with Candace Bondurant. And no, I didn't have nice things to say to her after that. But I have posted up the proof here. I have posted up the proof on my Facebook. I have tried to send that evidence to law enforcement, and somehow magically they just can't see it. Somehow magically the other people I send it to can see it, but law enforcement says I can't see it. I've got that documented in emails with these people when I sent them the evidence, stacks of it, including the evidence that Amy Witcher was told that Andrew Witcher was molesting her daughter. A lot of these officers thought it was completely hilarious what they were doing. They laughed about it. But you know what? There's no proof of it. Why? Because I was incarcerated or I didn't have the ability to record it at that point in time, and they thought it was fine. There's a lot of stuff that I recorded on those USB drives. It's all gone. Literally, the people that I was trying to turn in for committing these crimes and trying to have this evidence of the crimes that they committed safely in the hands of someone who will do something with it. And all they had to do was abuse their power and lie to a judge, and my predators got access to all of my evidence. Someone, let's see, Colocan typed, I've been through it, Sean. You are innocent. Please don't believe me. Look at the evidence and remove all doubt. Don't think I'm innocent. Look at the evidence and remove all doubt. Leroy Jenkins typed, I am. I don't know what that means. I'm, I don't know. It's just two letters. I don't know how to interpret it. He types, I'm so sorry you were still having to deal with this crap, man. Last I was here was after Rob Gavigan posted his video on Natalie Bollinger, and I hate to see you're still going through this. You know what, Leroy? When Rob Gavigan posted that, you know how I found out he had a video? I had a bunch of people threatening to kill me out of nowhere. People want to pretend that when I'm having a panic attack, it means that I'm violent and I'm going to go hurt people and so on and so forth. They go out of their way to use old wives' tales as an excuse to harm me. The dictionary definition of autism is for low functioning autistic people. I am not low functioning, obviously, but right now I am. I am too scared to function. I need a safe environment. I have needed a safe environment since before Natalie was killed. But with Nancy and Cindy pulling their bullshit at housing, and Ken and Leah doing the shit that they were doing, taking advantage of me in Colorado, and I was paying rent at both places. And then when I come back, I ask for that paperwork because I need it for court. Cindy went out of her way to play stupid and do everything in her power not to do that, to outright lie to me in front of in front of Nancy and say that she was going to. By that point, I had already gone to her at least half a dozen times for that information. I still never got it. And I went to my autism advocate about it. She said, well, why didn't you tell me? Well, it's difficult to tell you when you're constantly telling me that you can't help me. You're constantly telling me how horrible your life is. And I feel terrible for going to you for help. When you are constantly doing that to me, I feel horrible about going to you for help. And it scares me to try to go to you for help. Because I need you to understand what's going on. You don't want your personal information out there. I have to save this evidence and I have to show it. Otherwise, I get treated like I'm a psycho who's making it up. But I can't show it because you keep on telling me personal information that you don't want on the internet. It's not against the YouTube rules. I could post up all of the conversations between me and my autism advocate. I could post them all up. I choose not to because she asked me not to post up any of the ones with that information. Then again, that's most of them. She makes almost all of it unusable, makes almost all of it so that I literally can't show you by continually telling me her personal information. I can't because of this. I can't because of that. I've got this illness. I've got that illness. This person died. That person died. I got this going on and I got that going on. Well, if you can't do these things because those things are going on, you need to tell the courts. Otherwise, they're going to write down their own version of it. So afterwards, After the fact, she's telling me, well, why didn't you ask me to do that? How am I going to find time when I'm trying to tell you what's going on and you are constantly telling me about your personal problems and making me feel bad for going to you for help? You're supposed to be my advocate. She's not advocating for me. And she's got her personal reasons that have nothing to do with me. And I am doing my best not to put that up for God and everybody because I want to believe that she's actually going to follow through. There's also the fact that even if I get an advocate who can do those things, who is capable of doing those things, who is not a 9-hour drive away, she is still a witness to these things, and I have a limited amount of time to get her testimony. A lot of this evidence she is in control of. She has access to. If I lose my codes or my passwords, I have to go to her to try to get help to do that. I'm trying to get help stopping the abuse, and people want to make it story time. If that's a valid reason you can't come forward, then speak up. If I have to post it on the internet, I don't want to. But if it's the truth, you need to write it down. You need to report it if it is the truth. If not, I don't need an autism advocate who is going to lie to me. If those things are true, Meg, report them. Report them. Cole Cano type, did you contact Mr. Gavigan? I know he wanted you to email him. I did email him. I sent him evidence that I was telling the truth. He never got back to me. I didn't have very nice things to say about him or what he did. He regurgitated the same slander as everyone else. Slander that I have proven is not the truth. You really think he's going to make one where he admits that he was wrong? I'm the only person I know who does that. I admit when I'm wrong. I admit when I made a mistake. I admit them loud and proud right here on my YouTube. I told my worst sins on Facebook before Natalie was killed, and I have continued that to this day. I have had to do many things out of desperation because people wanted to ignore the abuse by calling me mentally ill and pretending that it didn't happen. Stephanie Mejia was one of those people from Rob Gavigan's channel that got a hold of me. Train. When she showed up, did she actually help me? Or was she busy trying to take hallucinogenic mushrooms, which those are legal in Denver? It's not like she broke the law doing that, but she did take advantage of me. Instead of helping me, she was busy getting drunk, smoking weed, and eating mushrooms. All of those things are legal there. But taking advantage of a disabled person is not. Now, it's obvious that yes, I am on the spectrum. Yes, I am autistic. The way that I speak most of the time on here, when I'm doing the angry speaking, there are two people two of the most prolific speakers of the 20th century. And I modeled my speech after them. One of them I don't even like. Now, the first one is my favorite hero of the 20th century. His name is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The other one is Adolf Hitler, because people listen to him. The angry speech, the ranting, the screaming. I don't want to do those things. Every officer that I've had to deal with, especially since being assaulted by Waylon Lolotai. By the way, they dropped the charges on that, but every officer who runs my name gets to see on my arrest record that I was arrested for assaulting a police officer. I was the one assaulted. And they dropped the charges so their body camera evidence wouldn't be admitted into court. They were able to use false charges repeatedly to prevent me from turning in my abusers. You can't turn in a cop because you got charges pending. I've got those charges pending because I tried to turn in a cop. Just like in January and in December, when I tried to turn in those officers, how was I treated? You know how fucked up it was that I'm going back and forth. Literally, this is what I spent my morning doing when I was assaulted by Waylon Lolotai and State Trooper Lassen on December 16th of 2019. Sorry, 2020. I was calling the Nebraska State Patrol, who says it's not their job. I got to call Deuel County. I call Deuel County. They tell me it's not their job. I got to call the Nebraska State Patrol. Nebraska State Patrol says it's not their job. I got to call Deuel County. Deuel County says it's not their job. I got to call the Nebraska State Patrol repeatedly. And then, according to Gina Jones, yes, they can investigate it. After all of that, we don't police the police BS. She tells me they can investigate it. Really, after when's the first time that I turned in Scott DaCosta to the Nebraska State Patrol? 4th of July, 2018. I was sent to Scottsbluff on a 72-hour suicide hold. When I was not suicidal, I was not attempting suicide, I was not threatening suicide. They thought that by calling me bipolar, that they would get away with their crimes. So the two officers that I was trying to turn in took me to Scottsbluff, a completely different jurisdiction. I was born in Scottsbluff. It's a long ways away and it's a nasty town. Leroy Jenkins typed, I wish I knew something to tell you or some way to help you out. You know what? You can help me out. There are hundreds and hundreds of videos. You can go find them, click them, and post them to your Facebook. Send links in your YouTube and speak out. Use your mouth and speak out publicly about what you have seen here. Not just my words. Look at the actual evidence. The hospital paperwork from Chesapeake, Virginia, I put that on here. Conversations between me and Natalie Bollinger when I was supposedly stalking her are on here. I've posted up everything that I can that doesn't have personal information in it. Meanwhile, Dual County has repeatedly helped my offenders in this town. They knew what Robert Warnick was doing to me over a year, and there is evidence on here that they did. When Sean Holloway went over there to talk to him, finally, after the assault and multiple days where he had been stalking me after the assault to Pump and Pantry, and when Sean Holloway went over there, he helped to try to frame me for stalking my predator. And obviously, they had to drop all charges. All 4 of the predators that I tried to turn in, that outright lied to have me incarcerated to prevent me from turning them in. And they had to drop all the charges because there was no evidence. But yet they were able to send me to, not jail, literally to prison on zero evidence by calling me mentally ill. The very man I was trying to turn in the state patrol, or turn in to the state patrol, Scott DaCosta, who helped to create this safety issue, along with Leslie Snell and Robert Warnick. And all of the evidence is on here. You get the evidence of what happened to me in January when I found my safe place. They pursued me. You say, go somewhere else. When I go somewhere else, they can abuse their power to pursue me. They can lie to a judge in order to get warrants based on nothing. And then Investigator Woods tells me that he can't look at my evidence, that I have to write it all down. And then that he has to write down his version from what I write and turn that into the Nebraska Attorney General's office with no evidence. It's his words, not mine. Him rewriting what it is that I'm trying to tell him. And I have this recorded. And I can't post it up because I am trying to respect the wishes of my autism advocate. But respecting her wishes has resulted in many people harming me. What am I supposed to do? You guys got to hear the conversation with Amanda where she tells me that this is what my autism advocate is supposed to do. You got to hear the conversations with the officers. They were absolutely sure this is the stuff that my autism advocate is supposed to do. And then there's my autism advocate telling me that's not what she's supposed to do. For 6 months, me and her argued because she was not telling these officers, hey, this is not what I do. I'm not an actual advocate, is what she should have said. I'm not an actual advocate. I'm a volunteer with the advocate title. And maybe she is a real advocate. But what does it matter if the courts aren't going to allow her to advocate for me? If they're going to tell her that she is inappropriate and they are going to mute her and prevent her from being heard. First Amendment, my rosy red posterior. Leroy Jenkins types, so it's not as simple as getting a new advocate. Colcano typed, really? That's terrible. He has a right to respond to you after making a video like that. My jacket typed, are the cops there? And then my jacket put a little emoji of a jacket. No, they've left. I turned on the camera because I was afraid of what they might do if it's not recorded. These are the predators I'm trying to turn in. Now, going and talking to my therapist is only a start. This is the same place that I started all the way back in 2016. This is when I first started with these people. No, that's not true. It was January of 2017. It was right after the cops, instead of doing something about the abuse, they took me to the Sydney hospital on suicide watch. Very similar to the situation where they took me to Scottsbluff on suicide watch when I was trying to turn them in. When I was trying to get Jen Beebe there in person so that I could turn them in without having to be afraid of being abused or assaulted or arrested or sent to a nuthatch. And what did they do? They manipulated her into sending me to a nuthatch. The very officers that I was trying to turn in. My jacket types, why are they harassing you? Over the death of Natalie Bollinger. I tried to turn in the abuse on multiple occasions before Natalie was killed. Not just Dual County Sheriff's Department. There were also officers in Colorado I spoke with on multiple occasions. There's also Jeff Ritter from the Colorado Coalition of the Homeless, who was supposed to be my therapist in Colorado. And then there's Kara Heller, who was supposed to be my caseworker, and her and Jeff Ritter were supposed to be working together to help me. See, when I was here in Nebraska in 2017, jumping through all of that stuff. Now, the reason that I said October is because that's when I first started with the housing thing here. October of 2016. So I'm sorry that I got that wrong or didn't say that right. That was not me lying. That wasn't me trying to misinform you. That was a matter of there's a lot that has gone on. They're harassing me because they knew that an at-risk and disabled adult was being abused in 2017 and they did nothing. Jeff Ritter was aware of it. Kara Heller was aware of it. Tamara was aware of it. Nicole Peralta was aware of it. All of this before Natalie was killed. I was jumping through these hoops to get disability so that I would be protected by law from these predators and the things that they were doing. Moldy Sponge just typed some bullshit, not intending on being an asshole about it, but these are just pretty words. I don't need best wishes. I need you to speak out, Moldy Sponge, please. Please take my videos, the ones that have conversations with these witnesses, and post them publicly. Share them on your Facebook, share them on your YouTube channel, please. Please don't best wishes me. Please don't pray at me. I'll pray for you. Please don't do that. Yes, I am in distress. I've been in distress for years. Moldy Sponge wrote, I'm listening. Thank you, Moldy Sponge. That is a very strange name. I think there was a Moldy Sponge I used to run with on Star Trek Online. Is that you? I mean, not that that's everybody's business. If you want to share, that's fine. Right now, at this point, like I've got this on, you guys interacting with me is helping me keep me calm. My jacket typed, there's a Scott outside. Please, that dude who's calling himself my jacket, dude, please don't do that. Please don't. Please, I don't need that, dude. I don't need somebody messing with me like that. I have tried to get help. I made this channel so I could get help and show that I've been trying to get help and that I am denied every single time. People are dead. Tiber Hatay is dead. He's dead because I wasn't heard. He is dead because Clearview did everything that they could to hide their crimes against me. And then when the news exposed the exact things that I was telling you guys about, the exact things that I told you were happening in Clearview, not just to me. But yeah, apparently you want to pretend like I'm manufacturing lies and making it up, even though there is proof. Number one, that I spoke out over a year before Tiber Hatay was killed. And number two, that he was killed by the exact things that I was speaking out about. Moldy Sponge type, not the same person, sorry. Well, it says perso, but I'm assuming he's trying to say person. Oh, it's all good. You don't have to say you're sorry. Every time a car goes by, I get scared and paranoid. Uh, all right, my roommate is here, and I'm trying to keep his personal business private, so I'm going to shut this off. He's at least some semblance of safety from these people, I hope.